The C-17 is certainly very impressive to look at up close, and today we had a chance to speak to its captain, Matt Lloyd, who's never been to Gibraltar before and has certainly never landed this type of aircraft on our runway. It's a short stay though, only here for a couple of hours, so by the time this report goes out, it will have been and gone. But today we also had a chance to go on board and view the inner workings of the aircraft ourselves.
So really it's a quick turnaround here at Gibraltar today because we're going to be heading straight back off to Bryce Norton after the offload's complete. But the crew will be working hard now. My co-pilot's at the flight deck. He's programming the mission computer so that we can go back to Bryce Norton. And the load masters are working hard to get the offload and the onload done. We've got some engineers here at the moment as well that are checking the oils, making sure we've got enough fuel, all that sort of stuff.
And how many in the crew?
So we've got 5 in the crew. That's me and the co-pilot, plus the load master and 2 engineers.
So how did you find flying into Gibraltar today then? I believe this is the first time you're here.
Yeah, it's the first time for me. I've planned it many times, so it's been a white whale almost to come here, so it's nice to be here. But the wind was such that we got a little bit of turbulence off the rock, but it was nothing outside of the limits that we're allowed to fly the aeroplane in at. And it's a short runway as well, so it's quite tricky to have your aiming point correct so that you can stop within the runway available.
Now, it looks like a very bulky, big plane. What's it like to manage to sort of look after and to try and steer into land?
Well, it's an incredible aeroplane to fly. It's got so much power and it's incredibly manoeuvrable. Really, we're spoiled by the capability of the C-17. In terms of stopping distance as well, it has such powerful brakes that as soon as we land, we can apply maximum braking and not think about overheating the brakes at all. So we're quite lucky in terms of the operational capability of the aircraft.
I was going to ask actually about the manoeuvrability of it, because it looks quite bulky when it's landing. What's it like when takeoff occurs?
It's very manoeuvrable actually, surprisingly so for the size of it. It's got almost the characteristics of almost a light, faster aeroplane. So much so that you can forget about what's down the back of the aeroplane sometimes. Especially if you're carrying something like a Chinook or larger loads, they can almost bounce around on their tyres or on their chains when you're manoeuvring the aeroplane.
For those unfamiliar with the aeroplane, they may have actually seen it perhaps in films. It's made an appearance in several films. And in terms of usage of the RAF, it's an American plane. What kind of operational duties does it do, and what do you think about it personally?
So I love the aeroplane personally. There's all sorts that it can do. So because it was bought almost off the shelf from the Americans, all of the operations that the Americans can do, we could also do quite easily. There's a possibility that in the future we might be using it for airdrop, for non-prepared runways, should we say, so like gravel strips, that sort of work. And eventually perhaps even low-level flying. But because we only have so few C-17s, that might not be an option that we look at immediately.